We've all seen those social media feeds, right? The ones that paint this picture of a dazzling life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Think of someone like Kelsey Turner, a former Playboy Italia model. Her online presence, it just screamed
It
glamour.
really did.
Yeah.
But what we're diving into today is, well, the chilling reality that was lurking just beneath that surface. A story that took a really dark turn. Fatal, actually.
Exactly. This isn't just, another quick headline about a crime.
No.
Today, our deep dive is getting into the intricate details of the Kelsey Turner case. We're looking at everything from that first shocking discovery right through to the sentencing.
Right. And we're drawing on reporting from places like the New York Post, CBS News, and there's a very detailed video analysis on YouTube from Coffeehouse Crime. Good stuff there.
Yeah, really comprehensive. So our goal here, like always, is to sort of sift through all that information. We want to bring you the core of this really tragic story.
Understand the sequence of events, definitely.
And the relationships, right, which seem incredibly complex here.
Oh, very. And ultimately what the consequences were. What this case, tells us about these kinds of human dramas.
Okay, so let's get into it. It all started, really disturbingly, with a car. An abandoned vehicle in a pretty desolate spot.
That's right. March 7th, 2019, you've got this driver near the Lake Mead National Recreation Area that's east of Las Vegas. And they spot this blue Mercedes-Benz C300. Just seemed completely out of place, sitting there on State Route 147. Kind of eerie, apparently, just still.
Yeah, the Coffeehouse Crime video does a great job painting that scene. You imagine this car just left there. It had a shattered window. There was a rock nearby.
Okay.
And when the authorities showed up, the car was empty at first glance, but there was this feeling, this dread, and then that smell.
Yeah. The unmistakable odor of decomposition coming from the trunk.
Right.
Tragically, yeah, their worst fears were confirmed.
Yeah.
Inside that trunk, they found the body of an older man.
Later identified as Dr. Thomas Burchard.
Exactly. He was partially wrapped in bed sheets. And the initial look pointed to a really brutal cause of death, blunt force trauma to the head.
And disturbingly, there were defensive wounds, too. On his hands, his arms.
Yeah, suggesting he fought back. He fought for his life.
So right from the start, this wasn't an accident. It was clearly homicide.
No question.
And alongside Dr. Burchard's body, investigators found other clues. Bloodstained towels, latex gloves.
A set of house keys, some clothing. But the immediate puzzle was, who was this man? And how did he end up in the trunk of a car out there in the Nevada desert?
The first big break came from the car itself.
It did.
Yeah.
The license plates, they traced them back to someone named Quang.
Okay.
But Quang said, no, I subleased that Mercedes to Kelsey Turner back in November.
Ah, okay. So Turner's connected to the car.
But here's the twist. The payments for the car. They weren't coming from Quang or even from Kelsey.
Who then?
They were being made by Dr. Thomas Burchard, all the way from Salinas, California.
Wow. Okay. That immediately changes things. That raises a lot of questions.
Absolutely. And it turns out, just days before the body was found, Dr. Burchard had actually been reported missing.
By his long-term partner, Judy Earp.
Exactly. Judy Earp. You can just try to imagine the horror she must have gone through, having to identify the body. They'd been together 17 years.
Devastating. Just awful.
And Judy's cooperation was crucial from that point on. She gave investigators vital information about Dr. Burchard's relationship with Kelsey Turner.
Yeah, because this wasn't just some random connection. There was a history there, a complicated one.
Far more intricate and, frankly, troubling than it first seemed. It came out that Dr. Burchard had been giving Kelsey Turner significant financial support.
Right. The prosecutors even called it a transactional relationship.
That's the term they used. He was apparently paying rent for a house where Kelsey lived with her mom and her son.
Okay.
And also for a separate apartment she shared with her boyfriend, John Kennison, and another roommate, Diana Pina.
So he's funding two different households for her. That definitely signals some kind of imbalance, doesn't it?
It really does. And according to Judy Earp, the total amount Dr. Burchard supposedly spent on Kelsey over the years, it was huge, upwards of $300,000.
$300,000.
Wow, a staggering sum. And Judy also mentioned, sadly, that this wasn't entirely out of character for Dr. Burchard. He had a history of financially helping other women.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it had even contributed to his previous divorce. So it suggests this pattern, maybe generosity, maybe a vulnerability.
That's really interesting. And Judy's take on it, it sounds heartbreaking. She initially saw it as Tom just being generous, right? Helping someone out.
That's how she framed it at first,
Yeah.
just Tom being Tom. But over time, she started to see Kelsey as manipulative.
How so?
Well, it seemed like Kelsey was always playing on his empathy. There was always some new crisis, unpaid bills, threats of eviction, even supposed medical issues for her son that needed money.
Right. Constant emergencies, needing financial rescue.
Exactly. It paints this picture of a relationship built on a really precarious foundation. It created this web of dependency.
Where Burchard gets more emotionally invested.
And Kelsey gets more reliant on the money.
Yeah.
And Judy, understandably, she reached her limit. She urged Tom to cut Kelsey off financially.
Because it was draining his resources.
Hugely. Impacting his own future, their future together. But it's fascinating, this dynamic, this push and pull.
And he didn't want to cut her off initially.
He resisted. Apparently, Kelsey had told him this story about her boyfriend, John, being abusive. Claimed she had nowhere else to go. Classic manipulation tactic, perhaps.
So Burchard felt trapped, maybe. Responsible.
Seems likely. So he decided he had to go to Las Vegas himself. This was March 1st, 2019. His plan was to finally end the financial arrangement, see the situation with his own eyes.
And that trip, that's what set everything in motion.
Tragically, yes. Because the day after he got to Vegas, he called Judy. And he was furious.
Why? What did he find?
The reality was completely different from what Kelsey had told him. He didn't find her struggling. She wasn't really living with her mother and son like she'd implied. And crucially, no signs of abuse from the boyfriend.
So he felt completely lied to, betrayed.
Profoundly. His last message to Judy, it was a text, and it's just chilling. I had to check things out for myself. Kelsey is a consummate liar.
Wow. Think about that being his realization just days before.
Exactly. And then he missed his flight home.
Which is when Judy knew something was really wrong.
Right. That's when she called the police, filed the missing person report. The police did do a welfare check at Kelsey's place on March 5th.
But they couldn't go inside.
Not without a warrant. They just observed from the outside. The house looked vacant, hastily cleaned, back windows open, front door unlocked.
Just unsettling signs.
Very unsettling, especially since Dr. Burchard had paid the rent way in advance through June.
Right, so why would it be empty and cleaned out?
Exactly. But the real grim pieces started falling into place once they found Dr. Burchard's body. That gave them the probable cause they needed.
To finally go inside Kelsey's home.
Yes. And what they found inside confirmed that there had been a violent confrontation.
What specifically?
One of the interior doors was broken, like in half. There were blood stains visible on walls, floors.
Oh, wow.
Forensics later matched fingerprints from Kelsey, John Kennison, and the roommate Diana Pina at the scene.
So all three were there?
Seems so. And they also found cleaning supplies scattered around. A clear attempt to cover things up.
And wasn't there something about towels?
Yes. Critically, they found bath towels in the bathroom that were a forensic match to the towels found wrapped around Dr. Burchard's body in the trunk.
That's a direct link. Damn it.
Absolutely.
Huh?
And they also found a notebook belonging to the doctor. And this revealed another really disturbing layer.
What was that?
It seems Kelsey had tried to blackmail him. Threatened to falsely accuse him of having illegal materials involving minors if he stopped paying her.
Oh my God. That's vile.
It is. And of course, the investigation found zero evidence to back up those horrific claims.
Yeah.
It just showed how desperate, how manipulative she was becoming.
So after the murder, Kelsey, John, and Diana, they just disappeared.
Pretty much. Neighbors saw them leaving the house on March 6th. They'd clearly fled. Police checked Kelsey's second apartment, too, also abandoned.
So where did the break come from?
The crucial breakthrough was Diana Pina, the roommate. She decided to turn herself in to the police.
Ah, okay. She cooperated.
She did. She admitted her role, apparently in exchange for some leniency, and her account. It provided this horrifying narrative of what happened on March 2nd.
What did she say happened?
She said she'd asked Kelsey for a ride home from her bartending job. But it wasn't Kelsey who picked her up. It was Dr. Burchard driving that blue Mercedes.
Okay.
And in the car, instead of just getting directions, Kelsey apparently went through Dr. Burchard's phone. Found texts between him and her mother.
What kind of texts?
Texts where he was expressing concern about Kelsey's lifestyle, the lies.
Oh, so Kelsey saw that he was onto her.
Exactly. And she reportedly just flew into a rage, accused him of betraying her. The argument escalated, and when they got back to the house, the boyfriend, John Kennison, got involved.
The same boyfriend she'd claimed was abusing her.
Right. And remember, both Kelsey and John were likely panicking about the money drying up. Dr. Burchard, probably scared, retreated into a guest bedroom.
And then,
according to Diana's testimony, Kelsey told John to knock Thomas out,
Just like that. Knock him out.
That's what Diana reported. A terrifying escalation.
So John attacked him. With what?
With a baseball bat. Diana said she tried to intervene, saw Dr. Burchard collapse. She pleaded with them, apparently, to take him to a hospital.
Did they?
They initially seemed to agree. They put him in the back of the Mercedes. Diana thought they were actually going to get help.
But that wasn't the plan.
Not at all, because it was right then, in that moment, that Dr. Burchard apparently looked at Diana and said something utterly haunting.
Wow.
He said, "You know they're going to kill me, don't you?"
Oh, God. He knew.
He knew. And right after that, Kelsey and John told Diana to go upstairs and clean up the blood. As she walked away, she overheard Kelsey tell John to finish the job.
Finish the job. Just cold.
Horrifyingly clear intent. Diana then said she heard a loud noise, ran downstairs, and saw John holding a gun covered in blood. Kelsey then just stated, "He's dead."
But no shots were fired.
Apparently not. The belief is he was fatally assaulted with the gun used as a blunt weapon. Pistol whipped, essentially.
And then the cover-up began in earnest.
Yes. Diana, probably in shock, started cleaning the kitchen. John put Dr. Burchard's body in the trunk, drove the Mercedes out to that remote desert area, and just abandoned it.
While Kelsey and Diana kept cleaning back at the house.
Scrubbing away the evidence. John came back, and then the three of them fled Las Vegas together.
But the guilt must have eaten away at Diana.
It seems so. It eventually became too much, leading her to turn herself in.
And her testimony really blew the case open.
Absolutely. It ramped up the investigation, the search for Kelsey and John. They stayed hidden for over a week, though.
But they were caught eventually.
Yes, March 21st, 2019. Kelsey Turner was arrested in Stockton, California, got extradited back to Vegas. John Kennison was picked up, too.
So what happened legally? What were the outcomes?
Well, Diana Pena, because she cooperated, pleaded guilty to accessory to murder. She ended up getting 3 years of probation.
Okay. And Kennison, the boyfriend?
John Kennison pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and conspiracy. He got a much heavier sentence, 18 to 45 years in prison.
Right. And Kelsey Turner, the central figure.
Kelsey Turner, in November 2022, took what's called an Alford plea to second-degree murder.
An Alford plea. That means she didn't admit guilt, but acknowledged the evidence was strong enough for a conviction.
Exactly that. She maintained innocence technically, but accepted the reality of the prosecution's case. She was sentenced on January 10th, 2023.
And her sentence was?
10 to 25 years in prison.
So less than Kennison's maximum, but still significant.
Yes. Reports from the sentencing hearing said she was crying, but people there felt it was more self-pity than actual remorse.
No remorse for Dr. Burchard or the suffering caused?
Didn't seem like it. The prosecutor made a really powerful statement at the time. Said she was, quote, content to leave someone she knew for a number of years who supported her and her child financially to rot in the back of the car in the desert that he paid for.
Wow. That really drives home the callousness, the betrayal.
It absolutely does. And Judy Earp, Dr. Burchard's partner, she also gave a victim impact statement.
I can only imagine how difficult that was.
Must have been incredibly painful. She talked about the devastating, lasting impact of his murder on her life, and she expressed fear, about Kelsey eventually getting parole.
Understandable. The ripple effects of this are just immense.
It truly brings us back to that stark contrast we started with, doesn't it? That glossy, alluring online image.
Shattered by this brutal, awful reality.
Exactly. Dr. Thomas Burchard. By all accounts, a kind man, a respected psychiatrist, generous to a fault, perhaps.
Becomes a victim of this awful manipulation, this greed, and ultimately just horrific violence.
That's a deeply disturbing end.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive on the Kelsey Turner case, it really makes you think, doesn't it? About these complex, sometimes dangerous dynamics in relationships, especially where money is so central.
The potential for exploitation.
Yeah.
What happens when trust is just fundamentally broken.
Yeah. So maybe the thought to leave our listeners with is this. What does a case like this reveal? Maybe about vulnerabilities we all might have in different ways, or about how we understand power, dependence, manipulation in our own lives and interactions.
It's definitely sobering. A lot to think about in terms of human nature, generosity, and where those lines can get tragically blurred.
Heavy stuff, but important to examine.